Older folk, this generation has the flat earth conspiracy. What were some of the dumbest conspiracies or crazes or bandwagons going around during your time? One of the Beatles, think it was Paul, had secretly died and their album art and music were laced with hints, including messages you could hear if you played the records backwards. Some people took this quite seriously. Weirdly enough, today, there is a very similar conspiracy theory concerning Avril Lavigne. Lavigne is a Canadian singer who was real big in the early 2000s and, according to the CT, died sometime around 2005 and was replaced by an impersonator. Depending on the version of the CT, the impersonator is either a fan or a close friend of Lavigne who looks a lot like her. I heard this same theory but about Miley Cyrus, who supposedly died shortly after Hannah Montana was finished, and that's why she started twerking and acting nutty, because it's not really her. Weird shit. My grandpa used to tell me dinosaurs weren't real and space is made up by the government. How the hell did he think space isn't real? You can prove him wrong just by looking up at night. That's just what the dinosaurs who run the world want you to think. The world is going to end on this specific date, typically predicted by a cult leader. I remember those in my childhood and teens, but don't think I've heard of any more since the Jim Jones cult mass murder suicide. I guess that kind of a prediction these days is a good way to get yourself investigated. Heaven's Gate, back in the 90s. Though, I'm not sure if they thought the world was actually going to end. But they killed themselves so their souls could escape to the Hale-Bopp comet or whatever. They said that the world was about to be recycled and the only way to survive was to catch a ride on the comet. Before the internet there wasn't much of a bandwagon to jump on. Conspiracy theories were for weirdos and enthusiasts. But there were a lot of really idiotic rumors about celebrities, like that one about Marilyn Manson having a rib removed so he could suck his own dick, or having his girlfriend's eye removed so he could F the socket. With the advent of internet, people began to act like experts on every fucking thing, but back then it was mostly, well, I heard that. Someone might think that Elvis was still alive, but they couldn't spew out all these pseudo-scientific factoids, like they do now. Eating Pop Rocks and drinking cola at the same time killed Mikey, from the Life cereal commercials. Oh my god, I remember that one. That's crazy. But Mikey liked it. Obligatory not older folks. I'm just 23, but here in South Africa when I was around 8 we used to get these Tasos, small, plastic circular discs, with Pokemon on them in packs of chips. They were huge collectible for us kids and we all loved them until a newspaper published a story about the devil, the actual devil, coming out of a Taso and killing a little girl. It started massive outcry that those Tasos were satanic and demonic and a bunch of other BS. I still don't know how every adult who read it wasn't like this is so dumb and ignore it. Richard Gere had to go to the ER to get a gerbil taken out of his ass. Weirdly specific. We had this 15 years earlier with a local newscaster. I do love a local news anchor scandal. That the CIA was funding drug cartels in South America and distributing cocaine. Oh wait, that was real. Or how all the tinfoil hat nutters thought that the CIA was trying to use LSD to control people's minds. And then MK Ultra was made public. Frankly, the government and the CIA especially have done enough bizarre and fucked up shit to warrant extreme concern. Back in the early 80s there was a lot of talk about the Illuminati being the shadow government running the world. I still remember growing up in the early 2000s and how the internet was always freaking out about the Illuminati. It started off semi-serious for some of them, but now it's all just a joke. I'd argue it's kind of migrated to the Big Brother idea. In the 90s I remember hearing if you see a car driving at night without their headlights on and you flash your lights at them, there's a chance they will follow you home and kill you. I think the rumor was a gang initiation or something like that. I remember this as well. I absolutely remember this, and it's still in the back of my mind when I see someone driving with their lights off at night. That the government was tracking and recording you. Turns out it was right though. Everybody always suspected the government was spying on the population. The year crazy part was aimed at the people who thought the government was specifically spying on them. Those people were just ahead of their time. Back in my day, a lot of middle-aged white women were convinced violent rap music lyrics and video games were going to tear society apart. There was a chainmail list of all the people the Clintons had killed. No proof, just a list of all these acquaintances that crossed them, and their unexplained deaths. Imagine the Seth Rich story, multiplied by 50. That AIDS were a government-created illness to kill gays. Year 2000 was hilarious. The thing about year 2000 is that there was an actual problem. Unpatched systems that used dates that were expressed dates as 2-digit numbers were going to have issues. But everyone knew about it way in advance and most companies worked very hard to make sure it wasn't a problem. My brother on the other hand bought MREs and had 2 giant barrels of water in his home. He also bought a gun and had moved out to the country. He also contemplated buying goats and planting crops. 7-Eleven was a part-time job. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to Best Questions.